All right. Hi. I'm here with Gail Arnsmeyer. Hi, Gail.
Hi,
And,
Julie. Good morning.
yeah. And I should introduce myself. I'm Dr. Julie Gilbert. And we are taking a little side road from our What's for Dinner and talking about Nutrition 101. We are following along, reading through Michael Pollan's book, Food Rules. Really good, down to earth, simple book with simple principles. And I want to remind people we're not giving, medical nutrition advice here, but anyway, simply talking about food. And Gail, you've read through this book, haven't you?
Yes, I have. And it really gave me some good, down to earth information. It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you have to go by, it's nothing special. It's just really good, whole food type information
Right.
and a
Yeah.
lot of information I didn't know.
Yeah. But also, so yeah, good information that you may not know. And when you really think about it, it's maybe pretty intuitive, maybe make a lot of sense, a lot of good common sense. So we are on chapter 2, and chapter 2 here, and it says, don't eat anything your great grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. I'm going to say that again. Don't eat anything your great grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. And so, Gail, I did some digging through my picture book. Actually, the last time I was home, I went through my mom's pictures.
Ah,
And yeah, and I found this picture. I'm going to hold it up. I hope everybody can see that. I don't know if the light glare, but that's a picture of my grandmother. She's sitting at her breakfast table, and look at what's on her
she's
table.
got Cheerios.
Yes, Cheerios there, right? She's drinking her coffee, and so this picture was taken in 1954. So of course, my grandmother is a great grandmother, and she's actually a great, but she's no longer with us. But I was thinking that, gosh, we'd have to go back to more than great grandmother. I think we have to go to great grandmothers, to not eat anything that wouldn't be recognized as food. But anyway, I thought this picture was fabulous. I loved it. The picture of the Cheerios box, and it made me wonder when Cheerios entered the scene. So I looked it up, and I found out some pretty interesting information. I think last week we mentioned that cereal in general was started to come on the scene in the late 1800s when people were having some digestive issues and dyspepsia. And so there were these sanitariums where people went to feel better, and they had a lot of lifestyle stuff like exercise and sleep, and then they changed their diet, and they introduced different grains in, and they call them granula. I don't know if I'm pronouncing, it's not granola, but they spell it granula, and they were grains, and grains had fiber, and they were supposed to help with digestion and that sort of thing. So that was really around. Well, the Kellogg's came on the scene,
Right.
yeah, in 1900s, and then there was grape nuts, and then there was post toasties,
And they
and
were all supposed to initially be nutritional
right.
help for your body, right?
Right. Exactly. And of course, there were hot cereals like Quaker Oats. Oatmeal that was a
Hmm.
hot cereal, but these were cold cereals ready to eat that you didn't have to cook. And it was in 1941 that Cheerios came on the scene. And interestingly, originally they called themselves Cheery Oats,
Right.
and their not a mascot, but their little spokesperson was a little girl named Cheery O'Leary.
Oh, I
I thought
never
that
saw that.
yeah, they were special because Cheery Oats was special because it was the first oat cereal. They had corn, there was rice, there was wheat, but this was the first oat cereal. And the other thing that made it special was it was puffed, and it
Oh,
yeah they used this puffing gun to make the cereal itself. And I was so curious. I wanted to find out what the original ingredients
oh
of
yeah.
yeah, and how different that is from today, because I read the ingredient list from today's, and it starts out with oats, but now there's cornstarch in there, and the third ingredient, Gail,
Let
on
me guess.
go ahead, guess what?
Sugar.
Yeah, sugar is the third ingredient on the list. I don't think they had sugar in that ingredient list
I
back
bet
in
they didn't. Can you
yeah.
even get a hold of that list from back then?
I couldn't. I'm going to
Yeah,
do a little more looking. If somebody else out there knows about how to get that information, I think that would be super
I do
fascinating.
too. Because
Yeah.
the intent seemed to be pure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you said that, because really, there's no judgment on that past. They were exactly what you said. They really were trying to improve people's health.
Right.
Yeah, help them find convenience, make things a little more easier for the woman who's at home making breakfast for everybody. Um,
So how did it go awry?
right, exactly. Great question. Um, and I'm sure we can come up with lots of answers, but maybe that's a good answer or question to post to our audience. Where do you think and how did things go awry with breakfast cereals? One thing I think of when I look at this picture, I mean, if you look at the bowl, sorry, maybe you can't say it,
Yeah,
in front of my grandmother, that's a tiny little bowl, right? She wasn't eating 3 cups of Cheerios, at a time. Maybe she'd have a half a cup of Cheerios. And and then the other thing is that the cereal was marketed to be part of the breakfast, not the whole. I think right
right.
now, I mean, raise your hand if you eat cereal and that's your whole breakfast. I, that's when I was eating cereals. That's what I did, and that's what we did with our kids.
Right.
That's what their breakfast was. Maybe we put a piece of fruit with that or something, but usually it was cereal. I
Cereal
could
and milk.
cereal and milk, sure, thank you. Yeah, cereal and milk. Um, Yeah, but anyway, I just think it's so fascinating. Back to the ingredient list now, like you said, the third ingredient is sugar. Um, then they put other things in there like canola oil, which is one of those very processed oils, not great for us. And then they sprinkle in vitamins. And they have to sprinkle back the vitamins because, the grain itself comes with vitamins, but they get stripped, when it's, the bran is removed, and along with that, then most of the nutrient density, and you're left with the carbohydrate. And that was, well, I know that as a fact, after World War II, they started doing that because then they were thinking that the bran slowed absorption of nutrients and things like that. So they took the bran out of the whole grain, and along with the bran came all the other great nutrition. And so then they had to sprinkle back in and fortify those cereals. So
That's what you call processing, right?
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So yeah, it's really incredible. So I'm just so curious what was in that box of Cheerios, and how it's changed and different to now. So the whole history is fascinating to me. But yeah, so to Michael Pollan's point, don't eat what your great grandmother would not recognize as food. I'm going to have to go back a little bit. Maybe if she read the box, the ingredients, she wouldn't recognize that.
We never read the ingredients back then.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, probably true. Probably true. Yeah. So, um, right. But now, Gail, 80% of what is in grocery stores is processed, you know. Yeah, only 20% of what's in the grocery store is whole and real. And it's not, it might start out, the first several ingredients are the majority of what's in there, because the ingredients are listed in order of the amount of each
Right.
thing that's in it. And it's when you get to the end and you have all these long chemical names, that go on and you can't pronounce. That's the concerning part. Because, and presumably those are put in there to extend the shelf life of the foods. But then you got to wonder what's going on, what is happening in your body with those chemicals. And the other thing then to think about is what they are being packaged in. And this is what Michael Pollan points out.
That's right.
Yeah, because, we use a lot of plastics and things like that to package our food. And, what is that doing? So good questions to think about and consider, and then also consider, well, how can I make, what am I eating and how can I make it just a little bit better, a little bit higher quality? How can I move in the direction of whole food? So
That's true. And I think it's interesting to think about what are those things that you are eating that your great grandmother might not recognize or ever heard of. One of the things that comes to my mind is like Velveeta cheese.
right.
I could put a hunk of Velveeta cheese in front of my great grandmother and she would have no idea what it is.
Right.
And quite frankly, I'm not sure what it is, but it's a staple in many households.
Yeah. Yeah, it is delicious. We used to use that for our grilled cheese quite a bit. So, yeah, that's the delicious processed cheesed food, I think is what they call
Food,
it.
that's the word, food.
Yeah.
If it has food on it, it's not the real thing.
Yeah, food-like substance or something like that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. What other things can you think of? I'm hooked. I'm kind of perseverating on cereals, but it's really, she might recognize a cookie, but she would only know 5 ingredients in that cookie,
Right.
the flour, the sugar, the butter, and egg, vanilla, maybe a little baking soda. That's all she would recognize, on a package of cookies. Then again, you go and there's 10 other ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cookies are my downfall. And believe me, I've started reading those. Yeah. It's about all I can say.
Yeah. And so maybe a start is, yes, not that you don't have a cookie, but maybe figure out how to make it yourself or find it from from a place where you know what the ingredients are, or at least you can ask. Yeah.
There are ways to do that. Yes.
Right. And maybe it's not that you don't eat cereal, but then the next time you buy cereal, you pay a little closer attention to what's on the ingredient list. Yeah. Because
reading labels has absolutely opened my eyes to so many things.
Right. Yeah. Read the label. That's exactly right. And yeah, because I think, you were asking when it changed. I think after the Second World War in the 50s, then we started pouring sugar in there and we took the bran out. So it got a little more processed. And then we were catering to the taste buds of kids and marketing to kids with the breakfast cereals, because that's when like sugar, what was the
corn pops?
Yeah, those kinds of things. And the cornflakes with the sugar. What's the cornflake with the sugar?
Frosted Flakes.
Yeah, Frosted Flakes. Thank you, Tony the Tiger. That's when that jumped in there, and that busted loose. And the other thing that I found out is that the number of breakfast cereals on the market after 1970 just exploded. I mean, it went from several, but to like a ginormous.
There are hundreds. There
Yeah,
truly
hundreds.
are.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, when you walk down Walmart, both sides of the huge long aisle covered in cereal.
Well, there's so many variations on the theme.
This is true.
It started out being like cornflakes, then it was frosted flakes, and then it was cinnamon frosted flakes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And every new movie for kids that comes out. And I know those, you may know more about this than I do, Gail, because you've been in that kind of retail business, but that real estate for the eye level. Yeah.
That's the high ticket.
Yeah. Very expensive. All right. Well, this has been very exciting, very interesting anyway to me, to just really learn about the history of food. And again, to your point, it really started with the good intention to improve people's digestion and health. And unfortunately, we have, took a wrong turn, or it has evolved into something. Anyway, these breakfast cereals that really don't resemble food much anymore. I think, the consumer is kind of asking food companies to do a better job. And I think food companies are responding.
Without getting political, it comes down to the mighty dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get a kid hooked on sugar cereals, you're going to sell a whole bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
And we know how addictive sugar is.
That's true. That's true. It's true. And so my encouragement to families, because we did this as a family ourselves, is, just one breakfast at a time, introduce a whole food. So let's say you don't change your cereal, but maybe you insert a fruit, or, you don't
make cereal be the whole meal.
Yeah, you don't. Thank you. Yeah, or serve a couple of eggs with it or something like that. Yeah, right. Or you maybe change your portion size, that sort of thing. So many different things that you can do to improve the quality of food that you're eating, just one meal at a time. Gail, thank you for little steps. That's right, small steps. Thanks for joining me today, Gail. And we'll see you all next time. Send us your questions, but we'll see you all next time on.
Stay cool.
Yeah, stay cool. That's right. All right. Thank you.